Whiskey friends, far and wide, we are live. What's up, y'all? Happy Tasty Tuesday. And the tasty, of course, means whiskey, because that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I'm Eric, your humble malt muser, beaming the Whiskey Tube signal from the Second City, my current hometown, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Let's get things started right, y'all. This is going to be a fun one. Smash that like button, jump in the chat, say hello, let me know where you're at. And if you haven't subscribed yet, would love to have you on board as a subscriber, because we're doing this nearly every week. I'm warming up the palate with a very, very, well, what's the word I want to use? Uncomplicated whiskey known as the Knockando 12. It is 40% chill filtered, fake colored, all of that, and it just gives you just the right kind of awakening in your mouth, gets the taste buds going, and it should be a good palate starter for what we got in store tonight, which probably actually doesn't need any type of starter because it's going to take over everything. Before we get into that, I'm, of course, going to say hello to our good friends Ponied Up at the virtual bar on this Tasty Tuesday, October 11th, 2022, all that good stuff. Hope everybody is doing well out there in Whiskey Land. First in the door tonight, it's our good friend, Central California, Donner Pass Whiskey. What's up, brother? He is at work, but he's going to check it out in a few hours, and he's got a Laphroaig 10 cask strength 12 buried away somewhere in the confines of the Donner Pass Whiskey abode. I can only imagine how many other great whiskeys you have in there, sir, but that is definitely one that deserves a cracking at some point. Gerbic is in the house. How you doing? Jupiter, Florida. Hello, sir. Los Angeles, California. James Chang. How you doing, James? Always good to have James in the house. Great to see you, sir. I completely agree with you, Mr. Gerbic, and we are going to be talking all about that shortly. Duluth, Minnesota. Great Lakes, Midwesterner. Meets the French. How are you, good sir? Maryland is here. It's our friend Mike B. He may have to duck out early. Okay, good to know. I'm going to be getting into one of your samples later tonight. Very likely. Glenfarclas Family Cask. We'll see how my palate is before I make that official. Quad Cities right across the state of Illinois. On the other side from me, it's Chris S. Chris, what's good, buddy? Nice to see you, man. Happy Tasty Tuesday. Sun Valley, Arizona. Phoenix is Leo. What's up, Leo? Happy Tuesday, man. How are you? Somewhere along the East Texas, West Louisiana borderlands, the man with the wrench, Daniel H. It's our good buddy. What's up, man? Good to see the regs in the house tonight. What else we got going on? Feeling good. 3 CBPs to start on another. Oh, boy. Yeah. If you haven't subbed to MC Squared Whiskey, go check out his channel. He just did a really nice live stream doing some blind tastings of Elijah Red Barrel Proof. Go check that out. New York City. What's going on, Jack the Pickle Hound? Good to see you, man. I've never seen a channel have more likes than viewers. People liking the videos before they go live. Love it. There you go. There you go. I love it. Mr. White, the man who holds it down up there in Ontario. What's good, buddy? How's fall treating you up there in Canada? I'm heading to northern Wisconsin this weekend for some R&R camping, and it is looking like we might get a, quote, wintry mix spliced in with some seasonable temperatures in the high 40s Fahrenheit. So I'm certainly going to get my dose of it. Here in Chicago, it's been relatively mild, although tonight it seems to be turning. Nice. Then I may join you down at the last part of the Farkless so I could kill the bottle. All right, there you go. Well, we'll get into that in the probably the second half of the show, right at the bottom of the hour. Okay. Here we go, y'all. It is a big day here on this show for me because I've been talking a lot about this whiskey, how much I've been anticipating it, what I think it could or could not say about the future and direction of this particular expressions range. So we're going to get into it shortly. Before we do that, I do want to just give a quick update. Whiskey review this Friday. M&H from Israel, a single malt whiskey from Israel, bottled at a huge 61.2%. It is a wine cask finish. We have tasted that sometime back here on the live show. Full review of that is dropping Friday. Patreon supporters, you know what you get. You'll be getting that early. So keep your eyes on your inbox this week, and that will be arriving. So be sure to check that out. And I see Sid's in the house. What's up? Indeed, sir. Great to see you, man. Okay, we got 12 folks in, which is awesome. Here we go. I'm going to just get this uncorked in the glass, and then we'll start talking about this whiskey. And let me know in the chat, by the way. We are continuing with the heavy peated whiskeys, which is becoming a theme this last couple of weeks here on the show. And I guess it is that season, at least around where I live. Tonight's whiskey, which I am taking the cork off right now. Ooh, God, you gotta love that. Laphroaig Cask Strength, 10 years old, batch number 15. Can you believe it? 15 batches of this. And I think they might have had some before this that they didn't batch number. I am not sure. Let me know in the chat. Are you a fan? Have you ever had it? Are there some batches you like more than others? Would love to hear what you guys all think about this. I am going to dive in and give you guys kind of an overview of why this whiskey has been so highly anticipated by me and what I'm hoping for as we dive into it. So, first and foremost, y'all, Laphroaig 10 cask strength. One of my favorite whiskeys ever. In my personal opinion, value for money, quality. For an Islay heavily peated whiskey, you cannot really do better. And there's a couple simple reasons for that, and that is because they have maintained the high quality and integrity of this whiskey. While their regular 10-year-old from Laphroaig definitely, I think, has taken some turns for the worse for the years, still a respectable dram in many ways, but I don't think it's a world beater by any stretch. The Laphroaig 10 cask strength, which comes in right around that $85 to $90 mark, is an absolute belter each and every year, and one of the whiskeys that I look forward to the most. Now, let's talk a little bit about why this one in particular has been on my radar, and I have been just sitting here biting my nails waiting for it. So, traditionally, Laphroaig would release one batch of this 10-year-old cask strength every single year. You would find it at various times of the year. It would just seem to pop up on the market, and you grab it when you see it. Last year, 2021, something rather peculiar happened. They released two of them, and because of that, a couple questions started getting raised for me. One is, are they trying to make this the norm now and release two batches annually? Or were they just kind of experimenting with it and didn't say much about it? I have not seen any real in-depth internet commentary or statements from Laphroaig to confirm or deny this. But if we go back to the tasting of it itself, and I do have a video of this up, you should go check it out. Batch 13 and 14 came out in a strange, peculiar release schedule. Honestly, the batch, I think 13 came out mid-late summer, and then all of a sudden, late fall, early winter, there was a batch 14. They were both dated to be bottled in. They were both bottled in 2021, and while I thought the batch 13 was a really high quality release of Laphroaig 10 cask strength, it had the complexity, it had the punch, it had everything you look for. I found the batch 14 to be Well, a bit on the simplistic side for the release. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad whiskey. It just didn't quite live up to what I've grown to expect from these annual releases from Laphroaig. And the fact that they had pushed out 2 in such a short period of time raised a lot of questions for me. And those questions really were, as I said, is this a trial balloon of sorts to see whether or not the demand will be there? And secondly, I think the quality difference between 13 and 14 was notable. While 13 had a lot of the kind of complexity that you get out of these, which includes some darker fruit notes, herbal vegetal notes, I found batch 14 to be a bit more bourbon cask forward, not really maintaining that depth and interest that you can find while exploring a dram of this. So now there have been releases in the past that I've liked more than others. Some are very peat smoky forward. Some are a bit more like meaty, savory, and the peat smoke's a little bit more balanced. This one I found to be, quite frankly, the least interesting that I've had. And I have had quite a few of the releases. And so batch 15, I've been sitting here wondering, okay, so this batch 15 is either going to go one or two ways. Is it going to follow the way batch 14 was, or is it going to be something different entirely? Now, let's get into it. So here it is. This is batch 15. Now, the first thing I want to point out to y'all is you will notice that the bottling date is December 2021. So that means they bottled 3 casks, or 3 cask strength whiskeys in 2021. I'm a little bit skeptical about this. For those keeping score at home, batch 14 here was June 2021, and batch 13 was January 2021. So right away we have something rather peculiar. Okay, now, as for the whiskey itself, let me give you the tale of the tape. This one, bottled at 56.5% ABV. It is aged 10 years. It is original cask strength. It is, as they state here on the bottle, as well as the tube, barrier filtered only. In other words, it is not chill filtered, but they pull out, kind of the big pieces of wood cask or whatever that may be in here. While they do not say still on here whether it is naturally colored or not, we are going to go ahead and assume that it is, because it is a cask strength whiskey, and I have had no reason to believe that they have added fake color to it, but Laphroaig is notorious for doing so. So this is the closest they get to telling you about the color. We mature Laphroaig whiskey in seasoned oak casks, and this imbues the whiskey with the heart and strength of the wood. So there you go. Okay. It does not say anything else here. It does, again, tell you that it's non-chill filtered, but we're going to assume there's natural color. So we know it's non-chill filtered. We know it is in 10-year age statement. We know that it is bottled at integrity, for sure, with the cask strength. I do just want to note something for y'all. I love how a distillery like Laphroaig, who I hold near and dear to my heart, says things like this on their bottle. The whiskey's rich flavors come through as never before because the whiskey has not been chill filtered. This gives a depth of genuine taste and texture normally associated with sampling a whiskey at its source. And yet, the majority of whiskeys from Laphroaig are chill filtered. Interesting that they're so proud to tell it to you on this one, but hide that on don't say much on the others. There's marketing for you. They know who they're trying to sell these bottles to. Anyways, with all of that said, we are going to taste batch number 15 here and see what this is all about. They do not tell you what it's they just say seasoned oak cask, which I'm guessing is just ex-bourbon. There might be sherry in these as well. You just don't know. So there we go. Let me know in the chat. Anybody had this one yet? Anybody got any strong opinions about Laphroaig's 10 cask strength one way or the other? This is the color. You be the judge. Okay. So the question that we're really trying to answer here today is twofold. Number one, is this a fucking good whiskey or not? my general guess is that it's going to be a good whiskey. Is this whiskey going to be following the less than stellar batch 14, or is this going to be a more unique expression like a lot of the other ones are, quote unquote, returning to form in some way? Well, we are about to find out. But before we do, let me catch up on the chat and just say hello to a couple fans here who are talking Laphroaig. They are some Laphroaig fans. You know, I'm a CS batch timer. Yeah, absolutely. James Chang, Laphroaig Tin Can, it threw me down the whiskey hole. My first 10 cask strength was batch 11. Yeah, hell yeah, yeah. That was a real meaty one. I remember that. That's a good bottle. Finally, a man's in ECBP in Phoenix. Bottles. So 3 bottles. That's of a good sign to him. Yeah, not a good sign. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little curious about it. It is I did notice. Laphroaig 10 cask strength is an event to mark on the calendar. Twice yearly could be good if the quality is maintained. Sid Finch, I completely agree with you. Completely agree with you. He's got a batch 13 he's going to join in with. How many bottles of cask strength peated whiskey is okay to have on my I think that's a trick question. As many as I suppose, however many your bar can hold, right? I've heard batch 15 is a step in the right direction, says Mike B. I'm looking forward to finding out. Bottle would increase in stature if full craft presentation was clearly stated in the bottle. Yeah, we all wish they do. Laphroaig, if you're watching, I know you're probably not, but if you are, come on, man. The days of ridiculous chill filtration, first and foremost, just stop chill filtering all your whiskey. If you have to put color in it, if the choice is one or the other, just stop chill filtering. But really, you should stop doing both because it's fucking pointless. And it's not, nobody cares. Nobody cares. And I guarantee you, if you just let it run for a couple of years, you'll see the same thing. I didn't even know that. They stated on the bottle. That's pretty impressive. This year's cartridge is good. Yeah, batch 13 is freaking fantastic. Okay. Let me get the palate set with water here. Again, Laphroaig 10 cask strength. We have uncorked this. It has sat in the glass for probably about 5 to 10 minutes, which is enough for me. 56.5% ABV. Bada bing, bada boom. Here we go. There's that color. I mean, doesn't it look kind of sherry to you? Let's check it out. I have a Quig-sized dram here because, we're not going to play around. All right, here we go. On the nose. Okay. So right away. Sweet and peaty. More peat than smoke. There is a difference. We'll talk about that. You have oak notes. You have hot cinnamon, red hot candy notes. It's tame, surprisingly, which is to me a good sign. Nothing's really dominating. Yes, there's the vanilla getting the vanillas, some of that. There's that medicinal, classic Laphroaig iodine dentist office. Just, if you know. Sweet. So really what we're looking at here is a sweet and spicy, a sweet and deep. Very consistent. There's, as you go a little deeper in here, and I do encourage folks with a whiskey like this, I mean, you may think it's 10 years, it's going to be simple. Not the case with these cask strengths. You really got to dig around a little bit. And what I'm pulling out are some nice kind of cherry and strawberry notes, some interesting fruit notes here, which again are pointing me towards maybe a little bit of sherry in here. But I don't actually know. I mean, and they don't say it. And if it's just the 10 at cask strength, then maybe it's just the 10, which is bourbon cask, ex-bourbon. Bacon, barbecue. Okay, you're getting some of that sweet, smoky notes that you would get off of like a nice, smoked, not quite fish, like, smoked meat, something like that. So again, the nose here is encouraging. It is very, it's complex. It's dense as all hell. And it smells like a delicious cask strength Laphroaig. So let's not wait any longer. Let's give this a taste. Laphroaig 10 cask strength, uncorking. Happy Tasty Tuesday, batch 15. Let's check it out. Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. The first thing I can tell you off the first note, or the first taste, is what a belter of a whiskey. Wow. This thing don't play. Not at all. Wow, interesting. Okay. One more sip, and then let's talk about it. Okay. So here's what's landing with me. First and foremost, on the palate, a bit lighter in the viscosity than I recall the 13 and 14, which we will taste for comparison here. A little bit lighter on the palate. Now, as far as what the flavor notes that hit you, you are immediately hit with sweet fruit notes. Not a lot of your overpowering bourbon cask like we saw in the 14. But rather what you're getting here, strawberry, like strawberry Twizzler candy, just like a kind of a mixed berry thing a little bit here. You have that dirty, earthy peat smoke attacking the tongue, but there's a spice level to this that is almost reminding me of the Lagavulin 2022 we had the other week. Very, very spicy. Attacks the palate with a ton of like hot pepper, like chili pepper notes, raw kind of oak cask, almost like virgin oak. Much more than I expected. So we got this fresh cut wood note. We got this spicy palate. We got this kind of sweet fruit confectionery thing. I mean, we're talking like strawberries and cream here, and we're not talking like juicy red fruits. We're not talking vanilla bean. We're talking kind of a fusion of those two things. A little bit of that herbal note, slightly floral. Again, very expected. Medium finish, ashy, a bit bitter, a bit sour. And around medium, I think, on this finish. Okay. We're going to do a couple more sips of this neat, and then we'll try water. Again, I'm really struck at how much lighter this is viscosity-wise. Very oak cask driven, very spicy, much more than the last two. But there's the magic. There's when you get that second wave of the vanilla, the slight caramel, the little berry notes that I was mentioning. Maybe a little bit of molasses, burnt sugar, brown sugar. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to put a little bit of water in it. So far, look, it's more disjointed than I recall previous batches. I'm finding this to be like there's like two lanes, right? Like it doesn't feel like they're really married together in the best that I've had before. But towards the end, it kind of comes together. Let's put some water on it. I'm going to do, I think, like 3 or 4 drops here. Wow, that floral note it's almost like it's almost like this kind of not artificial, I shouldn't say that. It's kind of this very light vanilla creamy note. And it kind of just carries all the way through on this finish. All right, here we go. 6 drops of water. sweet, oaky, spicy. That's what you're getting here. Sweet oak and spice. I'm trying to get a little deeper on this spice note to try to get a better descriptor. It's not chili pepper per se. It's more like a virgin oak. It's more of this kind of earthy spice. There we go. There we go. The water. If anybody ever tells you not to put water on your whiskey, laugh in their face. This whiskey, with just 6 drops of water, the dark chocolate note, the earthy note, that dimension is now balanced out. Tone down the spice a little bit. Still getting quite a bit of it in a more aggressive way than I think I can recall on previous batches. But now you're getting a much more full flavor experience. You remember I was saying it was striking me as a little bit light on the palate by Laphroaig 10 cask strength standards. Not so much now. Much fuller, rounder experience. Rounding off some of these edges. This is absolutely much better with water. Still bourbon cask driven notes primarily, but you do have a bit more complexity in the form of earthiness, floral, which again is just kind of hanging around and it's subtle, but it's giving just a little bit of a nuance to this. Okay, so we gotta do one more sip. Give it its due, right? There's that like lemon lime thing that you would expect on this. Oh, much better with water. Much better. It still hits a little quick. It still gets to the heat and the spice and the smoke a little quick. But I'm telling you, this whiskey has transformed from a very fresh cut wood, almost borderline overly oaky spice note to a much more rounded, mature tasting, subtle, dark cocoa, chocolate, espresso, all those things showing up here more now. And it completely changes, it changes this whiskey in positive ways. Okay. Before we compare it to batch 14 and batch 13, after just a couple tastes here of a neck pour of a brand new bottle, I will say that I think batch 14 seems a little bit like it was an anomaly. I think this is a much more standard, expected presentation of a Laphroaig 10 cask strength. So, few on that. Is it the best Laphroaig 10 cask strength I've had? No. If I was thinking about one that it would remind me of in the last couple of years, batch 11 comes to mind. Maybe, batch 11, which is a bit more savory and meaty. Didn't quite have the full-on phenolic punch in the face. This one's like hovering right around there, maybe a tad higher on the phenolic. A 4 out of 5 whiskey per lim score, definitely. At $85 to $90, look, I mean, this is what you want. It isn't the best batch I've had, but it's not a slouch. It is better than the 14 from what I remember, but the real test will be putting this up against the 14, which I'm going to do right now. So actually, first we're going to do the 13. This is the 13? Yeah, this is the 13. Okay. So I just want to note, look at the color difference. This is 13. This is 15. That is a non-trivial color difference. I mean, right away, the nose on the 13 is just deeper, richer. There's hints of tropical fruit. It takes longer to develop. Oh, this is not batch 13. Batch 13 is the tropical fruit notes that I'm getting out of 13. The lighter fruit notes is just pushes this one above. But it's good. Batch 13, I think, is still a better dram, and that's just on one sip. I don't even need to put water on it. Okay, let's do 14, which I think I gave like a 3.75, which is, I think, the first time ever that I went below 4 on a Laphroaig tin cask strength. So we're going to just pour the last of this. Just a small sip. Again, a lighter color. This batch 15 has a darker color, and if it's natural, I think it means that it would explain a little bit about how much oak driven this is, because it seems to have imparted more cask characteristics on it at the expense of a bit of the spirit. Okay, here's 14. Okay, so here we go again. 14, again, it's such a vanilla bomb, and it just doesn't have it. Look, I've drank this one more because I've been just trying to get rid of it. Not in a bad way, but took it to camp a few times. It just doesn't have the full-on depth and diverse palate. By the way, 13, 14, 15, all on the market right now. And I highly recommend 13. If you like this type of whiskey, 13 is the way to go. See, there are some nice. There's some nice stuff in here. I don't want to bang on this like it's some trashy whiskey, because it isn't. But the problem with 14 is just it is simple in comparison. What can I say? Shorter development. Vanilla driven. Batch 14, again, this one's 58.6. So it's the highest ABV of the last three. Dark chocolate note, big time here, roasted coffee. But again, it doesn't have that element of the herbal or not herbal, earthiness. It's much more subtle earthiness, a much more, frankly, kind of non-existent floral element to this. It's just less dynamic. It's much more straightforward. It reminds me of the Laphroaig 16 first fill bourbon cask more than any 10 cask strength that I've had. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's what it is. So, okay. I will do a full review of this batch 15, of course, because I'm good for that. I look forward to these every year, and this one is no exception. This one falls kind of in the middle. If I go back for the last 5 batches, okay, batch 10, number 1, batch 12, number 2, batch 13, number 3, batch 14, or batch 11, number 4. Wait, is this right? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, I got to do 6 of them. Number 1 is batch 10. Number 2 is batch 12. Number 3 is batch 13. Number 4, batch 11. Number 5, batch 15. And number 6, batch 14. That made sense, right? Yeah. So this is a 4 out of 5 whiskey for me, batch 15. Prelim score, I don't see this changing. The lowest it could go is a 3.75. The highest this is going to go is a 4.25. So it's going to be within that range. I will do a full review and, of course, let you know when I drop it. I will say again, my fears after having that strange second batch released last year is that Laphroaig's going to try and do 2 batches of this every year, and they're making it crappier. Batch 14 gave me that indication. I think we can say batch 15 is giving us the indication that batch 14 was just what it was, and it is not a necessarily sign of a more simple, boring, Laphroaig 10 cask strength to come. So positive is that. I didn't need it to be a world beater. I just needed it to affirm that we're not going down a slippery slope here. And I think batch 15 meets the mark on that. So again, I think we're in good shape. I'll give this a straight up 4 out of 5. If we're going to do a 100-point scale, 88. Right there. Batch 14 would be like an 86, 85 for me. And batch 13 would be like a 91. So that's where we're at here. I'm looking forward to exploring this. Do let me know in the chat. I got to catch up here. And I've just drank a bunch of Laphroaig 10 cask strength, so bear with me while I catch up here on the chat and see how everybody is doing and what folks had to say. We've got 22 folks in. What's up? Solange, happy tasty Tuesday. Let me get back to where I was somewhere. There we go. Northern Ireland's in the house. Whisky Straight Out. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, I think we're all right. I think we're in the clear. I think we can safely say Laphroaig is not. They're not trying to put this, Carchis was good. Yeah. Hey, it's Paige. What's up, man? New Jersey's in the house. It's been a while, brother. Great to see you, man. I hope you and yours are doing well. Always great to have Andrew Page in the house, man. Happy Tasty Tuesday. Hope you got something good to drink, even if it ain't Laphroaig. San Francisco's here. Gary, how you doing? Cheers, man. This is what I really want to try. Yeah, I know you should. You should definitely try this. Shortbread. Yeah. Totally. I can totally see what you're saying there. Yeah. Nice, man. Congratulations on that, brother. Oh, yeah. Well, he's 100% right. Yeah. I do have a 13-14 comparison video up. There's no doubt. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Austin, Texas? There you go. Daniel H, not too far from there. Green Shots in the house. What's up? He is there in Austin. How you doing, man? Thanks for swinging on in. Good to see you. Had to step away. What was the verdict? 15 is not quite as good as 13. Much better than 14. I think we're in the clear in terms of 14 being an ominous sign that the expressions were heading in a certain, slightly downhill direction. No. It was just batch 14. And maybe they were just trying to push 2 out in 1 year and see what happened. And maybe the feedback was so bad. Then again, 2022 ain't over yet. We could maybe see another one. Who knows? Throttle's in the house. Look at the color difference. Said with a little Irish. Dude, seriously, right? It was ridiculous. Good to see you, Throttle. Hope you've been well, man. It's been a while. Yeah, I love 12. 12 was a good one. 12 and 10 were choice. Hell yeah. 13 is, look, if you're going over the last year of the ones you can still get easily, 13 is the way to go, in my opinion. Whiskey knows what's up. How you doing, Marty? Yep. That's absolutely correct. You are not lying. Yeah, if you drink enough Laphroaig, you start finding all sorts of stuff underneath the hospital notes. That's a great point. I have not tried the peanut butter cones. I saw a bottle recently and I was considering buying it. But no, I have not tried it yet. And I'm curious about it. Balcones is such an interesting, their core character, their distillate character is so, like, it permeates even their strongest flavored whiskeys. I mean, and I don't mean flavored like artificially flavored, but the boldest whiskeys they put out. And I'm thinking particularly the Brimstone. Like, you can still get some of that classic zestiness of the Balcones character in that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm curious about the repeated stuff, but I'm not like running to go buy it. Okay, that doesn't sound like it was all that good. That's fair. Yeah, we can talk about that. Hit me up at malt.muser at gmail. Malt.muser at gmail. Okay. Cool, y'all. Okay. Yeah, Brimstone drain pour. Wow. I enjoyed how wacky it was. It's not something I would buy again, and it's definitely not something you can drink all night, but I was pretty blown away by what they had done there. What a weird whiskey that was. Good to know. Okay, y'all. So, if you're just dropping in, hello, welcome to It's Tasty Tuesday. We're doing our thing. We got 21 folks in the chat, which is rad. It's good to see everybody. I am going to switch gears here a little bit. And as I mentioned in the description, I'm going to check out a sample sent by a good friend of the show and a guy who I got to finally hang out with here in Chicago a few weeks ago, Mike B. Now, Mike has provided me some really generous samples. And I think despite having a bunch of Laphroaig 10 cask strengths, my palate is still in decent enough shape that I'm going to go for a sherry bomb. And this sherry bomb is from a distillery that I've always said two things about. Number one, their core range stuff pretty much sucks. And number two, man, do I need to try a family cask because I hear that that's the only thing worth getting from them. Well, guess what? We got one right here. Thank you in advance, Mike B, for this. This is the Glenfarclas Summer 2020 release Family Cask 1993 vintage 57.2. Holy shit. So what is that? 2020, 19. So this is 27 years old. A 27-year-old Glenfarclas bottled at 57.2%. Are you serious? I may, for the first time, have a Glenfarclas that doesn't disappoint me. I'm going to just do half this. Just do half. Because if it's so good, I'm going to want to save it for later. Well, that gets some air here in the glass. Oh, look at that. Just a quick reminder. This Friday, the whiskey review drop-in for folks is going to be finally getting off the peat for a second. Although we are dealing with a heavy, punchy-ass whiskey, and that is M&H, formerly known as Milk and Honey. It is the white wine cask strength, 61.2% single malt whiskey from Israel. So doing a little world whiskey. That review will drop Friday, as always. And Patreon supporters, of course, you will get that early. And by the way, shameless plug, if you want to get reviews early, if you want some exclusive content, if you just want to straight up support the show in a way, hit me up, patreon.com/maltmuserwhiskey, as you see in the Chiron below. Is that what it's called, Chiron? I might have messed that up. Anyways, patreon.com/maltmuserwhiskey. You also get in 3 times a year to the sample raffles. And Leo, who is in the chat, can attest to some of the great samples that you can win in that, including, I think Leo got that Bunnahabhain 25 last time. So hit me up if you're interested. With that, let me just throw this whiskey into the Googler machine so I can give you guys some deets, or if Mike is still here, he can share. 1993 Family Cask Glenfarclas This is, yeah, I think just a 27-year fourth fill sherry butts. So we are talking the biggest, one of the biggest casks you can get at the least impactful. At fourth fill, you are getting subtle sherry notes. So I am not going to expect a lot of dark, rich notes in this. I'm going to expect something a lot sweeter, particularly because it's just not going to impart that much in it. I can't give this an entire 27 minutes because you guys would get bored. So let's just do it. Here it is. It looks gorgeous. Sure, yeah, drop it in the chat. Absolutely. All right, here's Mike. I still have a bottle about coming out. Maybe we'll crack it open again. This is Cask 4677. All right. All right. So here we go. Family Cask. Now, just for folks who don't know shit about Glenfarclas, they are a predominantly sherry cask maturing single malt distillery owned by a family. Direct fire their stills. They do all these things the right way, so you want to support them. But then you have their core range stuff, and it's total crap. It lacks depth. It lacks complexity. It's bottled at 43%. It's likely chill filtered. It's likely fake color. It just disappoints. However, here in the U.S. market, I should say, over in Britain, you can get a 15-year-old, which is 46%, which is quite good. And they do these things called their family cask, which are these special releases where I'm assuming they don't chill filter and it's all like cask strength and it has good age on it. And suddenly you have yourself a really nice Glenfarclas. So this is my inauguration into the Glenfarclas family cask world, as I have never had anything beyond their core range stuff other than one cask strength 21, which was also disappointing. So here we go. I'm very eager to try this because this has been something on my bucket list for a while. This is the Glenfarclas 1993 Family Cask 57.2%, fourth fill sherry butts. Only 518 bottles of this. Thank you, Mike B, out in Maryland, for this sample. Let's check it out. So immediately, I'm freaking blown away by how delicious this smells. It is very sweet red fruits, and almost a little bit of kind of vanilla. Fresh. I want to be precise about this. It's like blueberries and strawberries. Like you walked into a grocer or like a family fruit stand and you're just overwhelmed by the smell of just fresh fruit that's just been picked. That's what's going on in this. There's a little bit of dry cinnamon notes. There's a little bit of oak, kind of giving it a little bit of a woody cask character. But for the most part, you are just overwhelmed with sweet and rich fruit notes on the lighter, brighter side of things. Oh, it's the raspberry. There's a raspberry character to this that is just fucking killer. Have you ever had like a strudel or a kringle? Some like vanilla icing over a fruity inside. That's what you got here. Very dessert-like, very sweet, and I guess I would say delicate. Sweet, delicate. Let's give it a taste. Again, Mike B on Maryland, thank you very much. I'm super excited to give this a try. Here we go. Mm-hmm. Oh. Do you ever have any of those whiskeys that just sneak up on you? Like you have a sip at first and you're like, this this doesn't seem all that interesting. And then all of a sudden on the back end, you're like, oh, wow, there's a lot going on here. If you've ever had the newest releases of Aaron 21, maybe you'll agree with me. Let me give one more sip here, but I'm having a little bit of that experience with this one. Okay. This arrives in a medium viscosity. It's pretty sweet. Honey, a little bit of toffee, a little bit of vanilla, of course. Those sweet fruits are there, though. The strawberry, the berry notes, the mixed berry yogurt kind of quality. And then, right when you're about to think, okay, there's not a ton happening here, you get this swell at the back end of the development as it goes into the finish of a nice kind of gingery oak cask. Just fresh fruits all over the board. Strawberry, pear, berries, vanilla, all working together in this kind of nice, kind of creamy sweetness. You get just a little pinch of spice, which is a little bit more aggressive than I would have expected, but it's driven by the oak. It goes into a medium long finish. Sweet, savory, sweet, kind of bourbon cask fruit. And I think this is where you get, at fourth fill, this is where you get the subtle. It's subtle. The sweetness is strong, but the flavor notes are subtle. Blueberry, pomegranate. I'm not kidding. They're all very subtle. They're all very playing well together. A nicely crafted whiskey. I have to reconcile something here. One is that my innate, I guess, instinct was to expect a sherry bomb. This is not a sherry bomb in the traditional way. This is not Aperol or Apuna. This is not a Glendronach Allardyce. This isn't just like overpowering you with heavy, rich sherry notes. This is subtle and really kind of a challenging whiskey, despite the ABV, which, by the way, is dangerously sippable at 57%. And in showcasing its notes in a much more subtle, refined way that, quite frankly, I've just not had a lot of whiskeys that do this. So I'm a bit challenged by this, which I like. My general feeling is it might not be the whiskey for me. It's not, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure. This is beguiling. It keeps making me second guess myself. And what we're going to do now, and I'm going to be very delicate with this because I don't want to overwhelm it. I'm just going to do like 3 drops of water. I do not want to overwhelm this whiskey. Oh, man. I mean, at 57%, I can put my nose all the way in this. There's just so much happening here. And now I'm starting to get some herbal notes that are almost, it's not herbal in like a bitter herb way. It's like a rhubarb, if you know what I'm talking about. If you ever had rhubarb before, you know what I'm talking about. Oak, yes. Cinnamon. Maybe even just a hint of clove. There's like a root beer kind of cola effervescence to this. It's a very active, lively whiskey for 27 years. And I think, again, this is because they did not overpower it with a, heavy sherry cask. This was put into a very subtle sherry cask. They are trying to show off the spirit here, and I think they're doing a great job with that. Wow. Mm. Mm. Man, tonight has been the night for water. Oh. Wow, does the water kick up the spice on this and also kick up the sweetness? I don't know what a bottle of this costs, but I can't imagine it's a couple $100 probably at least, if not more. Oh man, the water has just, there's this second swell again of a chocolate, gingery gingerbread kind of thing that is just complementing these sweet sherry notes in a way that's just so harmonious. So this is not a heavy whiskey. It is not overpowering. It is not, again, I want to be very specific on this. When you hear a 57.2% and it's a sherry whiskey, you're thinking things like Aberlour Abinant. This is not that. This is not an overpowering first fill sherry blast in your face. This is a subtle, refined, expressive, vibrant whiskey that is showing a lot of character and a lot of just kind of energy despite its well-rested age. Look, in a way, this is reminding me a little bit of the one of the Balvenie tons I had, the 1509. I think it was batch 5. In that you just expect going into it some heavy, overpowering whiskey, but in fact, what you end up getting is something that's a little bit more lively, but subtle and refined, and that's exactly what you're getting here. This finish has extended dramatically with the addition of water. I have a rich, dark cocoa note on my palate still that has been sitting here this entire time I've been jabbering. Impressive. That's what I can tell you. This is impressive. I wasn't so sure neat, but with water, this has changed a lot for me. I respect this whiskey. Do I want to buy a bottle? Probably not. Depending on the price. This would be I don't know where this fits in for me in terms of whiskeys that I would want to sip on a reg, but like this could, if this was at $300, I would consider it. More than that, probably not for me, but it has a little bit of that Glenfarclas character, which I've always felt is like this sweet kind of strawberry cherry note, which I find is very strong. It's not cloyingly strong, but it's strong in these whiskeys. And this one has it. But there's just, man, this is a whiskey that'll humble you. So I really appreciate this sample. I mean, I'm not going to put a score on this. I wouldn't even know where to start. I can just say, like, for me, this is probably isn't a whiskey that I'm going to like run out and buy. But the water has really made me respect it. And again, this is just another thing. If you run into people who, look, if people don't want to put water on their whiskey, it's one thing. If they tell you that not to put water on it because you think it's sacrilege, they don't know what they're talking about. Because I've had 2 whiskeys tonight, and I've had some whiskeys in my day. Some of y'all who've been around for a while, you know that I'm not a fucking pro, but I'm definitely not a slouch. I know what I'm talking about. And adding a couple drops of whiskey to your single malt scotch is even at 40% is mandatory in my opinion. If you really want to explore a whiskey and see what it all has to offer, water is necessary. And these 2 whiskeys tonight are a testament to that. So really nice dram. I did save half of it because I will revisit this maybe when I haven't had a couple of Laphroaig cask strengths just to see if there's any difference. But generally, really, really enjoying this experience. And again, it is giving me some grounding in what the Glenfarclas can do, which is a distillery that I'm not very kind on. And if you've been around for a couple of my live streams over the past years, you know that I've been pretty hard on them. But really nice dram. Again, Mike B out in Maryland, man. Thank you so very much. It was so great to have a couple drams with you in Chicago, and it was great to fucking taste some of these whiskeys that you sent me, because this is really special. And I just want you to know how much I appreciate it. So that's that. And we've just hit that hour mark. I think I'm going to stick around for one more dram because, it is what it is. Should I go back to the 15? Or do we go to something a little more? I don't know. You know what? I actually know exactly what I'm going to go to. So don't even bother. I know exactly what I'm going to go to, but I do want to catch up a little bit on the chat here. Yeah, dude, right? I did just have a Kringle, so yesterday. So that might be why I thought of that. But yeah, dude, totally. That's what I got out of this. Big time, man. Big time, big time. Green shot. Adds Glenfarclas to the shopping list. Be very careful. Now, if you go online and you see Glenfarclas 25 for $170 and you're like, what? $25 or 25-year-old whiskey for that price? I need to buy this. Don't. It will disappoint you. Just don't. I agree with Ralphie most of the time. He's fucking wrong about that. The whiskey sucks. I'm just going to say it. Yes, Gary. It's been a while. Some of y'all out there have been like waiting. You're like, oh, we'll just wait till this guy gets his nose in one of these whiskeys. Nose is the event. You're totally right. You're totally right about that. Yeah, Mike, you're absolutely right. I don't know. They're all over the place. Yeah. 100%. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's crap. I'm sorry. It just is. No Winston tonight. He must be tired of it. He was in here earlier. He's out on the couch now. He's just been lounging on the couch. I don't know. I did. Hey, man, I did. That was a wonderful experience. And again, I've saved half of this because I'm gonna enjoy that again. I really appreciate it, Mike. Thank you so much, brother. You're good people. I didn't, when I lived in DC, I didn't, but I did see their I did know about their whiskey program. I never saw it. Top D's in the house. What's up, man? How you doing? Okay, so I'm gonna close things out with a dram of something I just picked up, and I'm on the fence whether or not this is a recommendation. I'll probably do a full review of it. But what I got here, since we just did a great sherry whiskey and we did an Islay whiskey, it's time to just bring those two things together in the beauty that is a heavily peated sherried whiskey. What I have here for you guys is from the Elixir Independent Bottlers. This is Elements of Islay Sherry Cask Blended Malt. This is just released. This is 54.5% ABV, non-chill filtered natural color, full maturation in sherry casks. This is what the bottle looks like. Now, I do want to note one thing here. So the sherry cask version of this, you're not going to be able to really read this, but as you can see, they play around with the whole periodic table thing, and of course they don't tell you everything of what they mean. But I was able to research it a bit. So in the addition of putting out, and this is from Elixir, like I said, in addition to putting out single independent bottlings of single malts, they also do these blended malts, and they have 3 ranges. They have what's called the Cask Edit, which is bourbon sherry. They have bourbon cask, and they have sherry cask. The sherry cask, which is what we're going to try right here. This is the first one. It is a non-age statement, non-chill filtered natural color, 54.5% version of it. And it comprises of Bruichladdich, Caol Ila, Lagavulin, and Laphroaig. So they're all married together in sherry casks. And the result is what looks like a really nice freaking whiskey, right? I'm going to pour a little bit of this. I'll tell you guys about it. Now, the thing that made me buy this is that this whiskey was a stunningly $60 USD ordered from Britain. Come on, right? Are you not going to order a Bruichladdich, Caol Ila, Lagavulin, Laphroaig blend in a sherry cask at cask strength with no chill filtration and natural color for $60? I fucking am. And I did. And we're going to taste it right now. I'll let you know right now if you need to run out and buy this. Peter White's had his hands on it. Cohen's in the house out in LA. It sure is. Well, you want to go one step further. The euro is lower than the US dollar. He is totally right. Yep. So here we go. Wait. Yes. For uniqueness, man, I don't know. That's tough. The 15, look, if you go back and watch the playback, the thing that we know about the 15 is that it did not indicate a trend of mediocrity for a 10 cast strength, which is what we saw with the batch 14. It's good. I think I prefer the Carches just because it's a little more unique, but you're not going to be sad with either of them. Carches is a little simpler, saltier. This one, a bit more depth, meatiness, complexity, but that's where we're at. Anyways, so here we go. I hope that's helpful. Elements of Islay, sherry cask. Again, this is Lagavulin, Laphroaig, Caol Ila, and Bruichladdich in a non-age statement blended malt. It is a blended malt, non-chill filtered natural color. I think this could be a whiskey that you need to run out and buy because the price is stupid. It was like $55. Lots of fresh cherry, lots of ginger and spice. Sharp spice, fruit, and both of these things. I would even go so far as to say there's a bit of like a, it's going to sound ridiculous. There's a bit of like a, what is it? Coriander, cumin type thing. Like the heat and the spice, it has an earthy quality to it. But the primary profile of this is fruit sweetness in oak-driven spice. And it's quite nice. Again, no age statements. I don't know how young this stuff is. It's sprightly, so I'm not going to assume it's too old. And yeah, nice natural color. Here we go. Just a monster punch in the face of spice. The palate, again, this is a theme tonight. Just like last week's taste of the 2022 Lagavulin 12 Virgin Oak. There's a heavy spice note here. The difference between the two is this is more of a new make. You can taste a little bit of it in here. The sherry is not overpowering, but it's well balanced. Vanilla, fruit notes, dried fruit, Christmas spices, heavy peat blast, more peat than smoke. I think that Lagavulin is a little bit overpowered by the Laphroaig note here. I taste much more of a like classic Laphroaig note in here, and maybe even the Kalila than I do the others. But here's the other interesting thing. There's a nice malt character to it. Sweet honeyed malt. Not expected in a whiskey like this, but it's showing up. And it makes me kind of like, I know they say it's Bruichladdich, and I wouldn't have been able to point that out if it didn't say it on the bottle, or if it didn't indicate it on the box. Again, it doesn't say explicitly, but yeah, I think when I read that, now I taste it, I'm noticing it, so I'll admit that. Here's where I'm falling on this. I really like what they've done with this whiskey. Like, what a great Elixir did a great job bringing these types of distilleries together into one malted blend. Blended malt. A great price, but I will say this is a young, punchy, foosty whiskey, and for the more seasoned peat heads out there, you might taste this and probably feel the way I do, which is like, hey, they did a cool job with this. It's nice to see that they're making an accessible whiskey like this, but it's not for me. I think that's kind of how I feel about it. It's just so, it's so sprightly and punchy that I'm just like, maybe not for me. If you love sherry cask and you love that like cinnamon red hot candy flavor, hot tamales, or whatever you want to call, whatever red hot candy you've had, if you like that flavor in a whiskey, you are going to love this. Big red gum, you're going to love this whiskey. If you don't love that, you might respect what they've done here, but this isn't going to be the whiskey for you. I fall in the latter category. But totally cool, and I want to try more of this stuff. I'm going to put a couple drops of water on it, just for continuity's sake. We got the Glenmorangie pitcher here. Just a couple small little drops. Let's see what happens. It's about what I said. Not much difference here. Maybe a little bit more full bodied, but this is a young, interestingly blended Laphroaig forward. Laphroaig and Kalila forward, especially. But then there's this interesting little hint of farm note barley, which I just have to assume is the Bruichladdich. Mm-hmm. The whiskey by itself, 3.5. Man, again, we've hit the trifecta. Water, again, has extended the development, has rounded the edges. I know I've said this again on this show tonight, but if anybody tells you not to, adding water to your whiskey is sacrilege, they don't know what they're talking about. Because this whiskey is bumped up at least a quarter point for me. 3.75 is a very fair score for this. I would argue that the value on this, let's talk about it in 2 months. If this thing steps up, this could easily be a 4 out of 5 because of that value. As it stands now, sprightly, spicy, youthful, well-blended, well-constructed whiskey. It is cool to see. It is bottled with integrity. We got to give them love for that. Elixir also does, I think, a couple other. I think they do. I don't remember. I'll admit I don't remember the name of their other the other line that they do. They don't bottle under Elixir, or maybe they do bottle some things under Elixir, but they also have another range. I would have to look it up. Yeah, look, independent bottling's like this freaking great, and the price on this is killer. It would be fun to see this at like a 10 or a 12 or a 15-year age statement at some time. But as it stands, that's what it is. And it's a really fun one. Yeah, check it out. I got mad respect for this. Okay, y'all. Single malts of Scotland. Thank you. Yes, I was like, I knew that there's one line. I have a couple bottles from them. There's a Klein Leash and something else. Yeah, look, Elixirs, they do good stuff. And this is a cool line that they got going in there. Oh, they do Portiskeag too. That I didn't know. I've not ever had a Portiskeag. I'm just going to admit it. I've not. But they have so many releases out. I'm like super tempted. Okay, y'all. I'm going to wrap things here. I do appreciate everybody hanging out. It's been another really fun, tasty Tuesday. Again, Lagavulin Cask Strength Batch 15, solid. It has bucked the trend that I was afraid was coming after having Batch 14. Keep your eyes peeled for it and enjoy, really enjoy any Lagavulin Cask Strength if you can. They're still, I think, a diamond in the rough of an increasingly crowded and, unaffordable or well, I'm intentionally dragging this on out because my good friend Whisky Throttle said wrap it up. I'm going to talk really slow now. Love you, Throttle. Anyways, yeah, good stuff. And again, I want to give a shout out to Mike B. Thank you so much for that family cask sample. That was awesome. Whiskey review dropping this Friday. M&H, formerly Milk and Honey, white wine cask, whiskey single malt. Check that out. Patreons, it'll be in your email inbox. And with that, we'll be back next week where I'm going to be checking out the latest triple finished whiskey from our good friends over at the Masters of Bourbon Blending or American Whiskey Blending, Barrel Vantage. So we'll be checking that out. Until then, everybody stay safe, be well. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Smash that thumbs up on the way out. With that, I'll catch you later. Sláinte.